this is find your purpose. So for me, although I worked for the company for 21 years, is I'd say up until about 4 years ago, did I actually find out what is my purpose? And what I mean by that, it is what are my interests and understanding what I enjoy the most and why I enjoy it, and then putting it into place, finding a job or a role that really brings that together.
All right, everybody,
Welcome
welcome
to Razed Typical.
It is our second season, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
We did a couple episodes. I think we did 6
Yeah.
for season 1.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of started a little late in the year, so it was a short first season, but it was a soft opening.
Welcome to our new studio.
Yeah, here's our new studio. We still got some stuff in the works,
Yeah.
but it's the starting process now, so we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
So today we have an awesome guest. Ben, you can do an intro for us?
I would love to do the intro. Did you know, Dan, that Brian Wanner is the director in talent and culture for the Giant Company?
Okay.
And he actually started as a store manager first and started in 2000. Then he went to he started as assistant store manager.
Okay.
Then started as store manager. And then he worked and now he was vice president of talent culture for the Giant Company, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then he actually went to college, which is really interesting. He went to Penn College, and then he also went to Messiah College, and he went to Elizabethtown, and he got his master's degree at Messiah College.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And then he actually is on the board for Dairy Bread, the Dairy Bread.
Yeah.
And he's also lives in Mechanicsburg with his family.
I love it. Yeah. So Brian, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. We are very excited. Ben, of course, has met you through working at Giant, but I know that he has been very excited to have you on the show, and I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about what your position is and what that looks like. I'm interested. We got some good questions, I think. So
sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I can spend time with Ben is great.
I love it. Yeah, that's what we always say. Like, everybody needs a little dose of Ben for sure. And so we're glad that the show can provide that for somebody else too.
Yeah.
But we always start the show the same way, and so me and Ben have questions that we think are great for getting to know people. And so I'll let Ben ask his question first.
Yep. I think the best way to get to know somebody is through their taste buds. What is your favorite restaurant to eat at, Brian?
Wow, favorite restaurant? That's a tough one. I'd say my favorite restaurant is actually a local restaurant in Lancaster. It's called Bull's Head Pub. Love it there. It's in Lidditz, PA.
Ooh.
Okay. We had someone on in the last season that gave us some local places in Philly, and I really like that because it's all about that local stuff,
Yeah.
It is great.
I love it.
It's a great little pub in the small town of Lidditz in Lancaster, PA that I travel to sometimes. Just go there and eat. It's great.
I love it. So my question's a little more involved. I think the best way to get to know somebody is to find out what makes them angry. So what's something that makes you mad?
Something that makes me mad is screaming.
Okay.
Like a loud scream or something. And my daughter, I think, knows that. And she, I think, loves to challenge me sometimes. She's 12. So if she screams really loud, and all of a sudden anything that's a really loud scream just makes me tense.
I got you. I think you can relate to that, right, Ben?
Yeah. Like, if we all get frustrated sometimes, I just get...
When you were younger, though, you did not like loud noises at all.
I did not like firework noises.
Mm-hmm.
There was one time we were at Hoover Dam and the bicycle went by, like the motorcycle. I had to cover my ears.
Yeah, but so the story there is we were all waiting in line, and Ben really struggles waiting in line, especially when he was younger. It was really hard for him. And, it was like 110 degrees at Hoover Dam. Oh. And so my mom takes Ben up in the stroller and is like, hey, my son has autism. He has a really hard time waiting in lines. Is there any way, we can get in? Which, is already kind of mortifying. She really doesn't like asking that kind of stuff. And the employee was kind of giving Mom a hard time, and she was like, I don't know if we can do that. And right then, a motorcycle drove by, and Ben went, ah, ah, ah. And the employee was like, yeah, please, come right in. And so it's one of those things, you couldn't have timed it better, but it all worked out in that situation.
Oh, man.
But no, I get you on that one for sure. So, Ben, you work at Giant, right?
I do.
So what's the job that you have at Giant?
I'm the store ambassador, so I'm the ambassador of joy, and it means I get to greet people, making sure they have a good day, and on what does the director of talent and culture mean for you, Brian?
Yeah, no, for me is I'm really thankful to be in this role, and what I'd say this role is really where it took me a while to realize it, but this is like where my passion really is. So even though it's work and it's I get up every day and go in and those type of things, I love doing this work. So for me, it's really about creating the right culture and all about hiring, about training, learning development, change management. To me, ultimately, though, Ben, what it is, it's about how can my team and I create the best work experience for all our team members. That's what's most important to me, and that's really what drives me.
That really is like your slogan for today's table, and we'll get into more of that.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's something I think even early on for Ben, as soon as he started working at Giant, he has a good feel for culture, if you will, in the sense of like attitudes and behaviors, and it's much harder for Ben to work somewhere that's like I'll say cold temperature, in the sense that like people aren't welcoming and kind and friendly. And so he has never once had a problem working at Giant. And so we know that must mean there's some pretty good workplace culture there, because Ben's got a pretty good sense for that.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah. So, Ben, you did talk just a second about their slogan, but I think you got a question about Giant, right?
Oh, yes, I do have a question about Giant. So what is something that sets Giant apart from its competitors? I love Giant's motto for today's table. Can you tell me more about it, what it means?
Yeah. So for today's table is really the center of our branding and thinking about, how do we come together? And whether for today's table, whether it's a family, whether it's your friends, coming together at the table, but which is important. So thinking about connecting. So it's about connecting family and friends coming together. When you think about celebrations usually involve food. It usually involves a table. Celebrations can also be, that's kind of like on the larger sense, can be a little bit small too, having a smaller table. So it's really, when we say for today's table changes all the time. So, for me in my life, my son just recently got married. So our table changed, which is really cool. So tables change every day, it changes, and a table could actually sometimes be in your car, maybe going to a soccer practice, or taking a trip. So the table really changes, and what we look as the center of our branding is that table. So that significance of a table and what it means for connecting people. That's what's important for us, and that's what for today's table is really about.
Yeah, I know something that was very instrumental and important in our family growing up was that we always waited for Dad to come home from work for dinner. And so it really wasn't until college that I realized that not every family was that way. But it was something that we always did as a family, was have family dinner together. And a lot of my memories are from those interactions and those moments together. And so it's true. It's very interesting to think about how every day a table can change.
Yeah.
And so as a company, you guys are fluid and moving with that to really, be a part of that. I love that.
Exactly. I love that when Dad comes home for dinner and he always prays at the table.
Yeah.
And then I like my favorite meal. Sometimes I don't like other meals that I don't like.
Yeah. What's a meal you don't like, man?
Fish. No, thank you.
Tofu. What do I tease you about?
Shepherd's pie or or chicken pot pie. I'm not a big fan of them.
So Ben loves hamburgers. He loves mashed potatoes, but he does not like shepherd's pie, which is the two things put together.
Yeah.
And so I always give him a hard time about that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So Ben, I don't think you're going to be working in the seafood department. Is that what you're saying? You don't want to do that?
No fish for you, Ben.
Drew could handle the stuff for the seafood. Yeah. He's a great guy. He works at Giant.
I love
he
it.
does a great job. But yeah, I love Drew.
I love it.
We always talk a lot, and then my manager goes, "Benny, get back to work." Okay.
Oh, catching him chatting too much.
I know.
I love it. So something interesting actually that we had found when we were doing some digging on you is you started at an assistant manager level, right, at Giant,
Correct.
and then worked your way up. So I want to know, kind of like, which do you like more? I guess we'll start there. Do you like working at a store level or the corporate level more?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I say they're uniquely different. So there are still days where, if I'm visiting a store or even I'm shopping in a store and see the activity, I miss being a store manager. What probably the store manager, as I think about that role, was one of my favorite roles because it was the team together. We can make an instant impact into the store and how it looked, how we served customers, so I really enjoyed that store manager piece of that. And to this day, I miss that. Prior to coming to Giant, I was a store manager of some other companies.
Sure.
So for me, it was like, is this the role I want to be in for the rest of my career, which I'd have been okay with because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I was like, how can I branch out and challenge myself even more? And that's what this role did for me. And for me, I'm a lifelong learner. So, and I love to challenge myself. So as I had aspirations, one day someone said, well, what else do you want to do besides a store manager? And I was like, well, what do I love the most? And what I really enjoyed as people. So that's why I made a transition from store manager and then moved into HR and a bunch of other things along the way. My career went around a bunch of different areas, but I would say they're uniquely different, but I love both. I would say the role I'm doing now is probably on par with my love of being a store manager. So they're equal, but bring different elements.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's huge. And obviously you want to enjoy what you're doing right now, right? Like you would not want to hate what you're doing in the moment. So I definitely appreciate that you enjoyed both and that you're pulling aspects from what you did before into what you're doing now. And so I guess my question that goes into the next piece of this is what's maybe a lesson or something that you learned from working your way up that really helps you now, that maybe someone who just like jumped into a corporate role maybe wouldn't know?
Yeah, no, I would say is the thing I would say the biggest piece of learning would be is it's okay to be uncomfortable. So continue to make yourself, if you want to grow, be uncomfortable. There's many times that I felt that maybe I would shy away from things that I didn't know or didn't know how to do. And through the different roles that I had in the organization, and many of them I was not had the education or skilled in the role, is just how you lead a team. So I had to go in there and rely on a team. So for me is really about being okay with being uncomfortable. Was the key thing throughout my entire career, which I think really led to me exploring different areas and really growing and really then understanding what my purpose is and the role that I'm in today.
Yeah, for sure. So Ben, there's something that you like to ask people.
Yeah. Right.
And we're actually going to make it a staple of our show. It's going to be a question we ask all our guests. And do you know what I'm talking about, Ben?
Yeah, I'm ready. What was the first job that you ever had going into high school or college?
Yeah, it's the first job.
Yeah, the very first job I had was with another competitor, believe it or not. And the only reason I say that because there was no Giant in the town that I grew up. But my first job was working at Weis Markets as a clerk. Yeah, so I've been in grocery almost my entire life, other than right after college. I had a 6-month stint and something that I thought I was going to like, absolutely hated it, and went back into food retail. So I've been in grocery retail ever since I was 16.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
There's a well known in our family. You know, I'm sharing it live on the internet now, but it's fine 'cause it's my story. But I work in outdoor fields, and I've done rock climbing, you know, mountaineering, backpacking, long trips, all these different things, and high stress situations. Right, so I'm working with
Yeah.
people who are in high stress and managing that. And for one day, I worked at a deli slicing cheese and meats. And never in any of my climbs, my mountaineering exchanges, have I ever been more stressed than I was on that one day slicing cheese. Because people, they know what they want, and if they don't get it the way they want it, it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate anybody who works in any kind of food retail, because I only did one day and I was already done.
Isn't that Uncle Dom's brother who has
Yeah.
the best roast beef in the world?
Yeah, so it's like a more like a kind of a smaller place,
Yeah.
but we got a lot of people who, you know, they've been coming to that place their whole life getting cheese and
Yeah.
meats, and I was day
Wow.
one. I didn't know what I was doing.
No, that's a tough job because yeah, first of all, it's very demanding. Usually it's busy, and then you have to, besides understanding there's like so many different types of cheese and meats,
Yeah.
and that understanding exactly which one it is, and then how to slice it the right way, and how many pounds, and
Yep.
making it right. Yeah, it's definitely is a challenging role.
Yeah, for sure. Something that I didn't realize I wouldn't be great at.
So, real funny story.
Yeah.
When I used to go to Giant and I used to go in there as a kid, I said, "Can I have a sample of cheese?" So I used to get a sample of cheese and a sample of the cookie anytime I go in.
I do remember they had like the jar. I think of like it was kind of like the cookie pieces or whatever, and so we
Yeah.
always get some samples for sure.
Acme,
Exactly.
on the show.
Yeah, but when we've gone everywhere, I think the Giant has been there for a while,
It's
right?
been there since 2012.
Okay, so Ben, of course, Ben would know the exact date, right?
He does.
And then the Reese's mascot was there that day.
Okay. What else happened that day? Do you know?
Bob was the manager. Bob's been there. I love Bob Griffiths. He's
the manager at the Giant.
he was the manager. He's just a great guy.
I love it.
He just taught me so much. And Dan does a great job too. Cindy, Becky, all of them.
Yeah, and a big part of that, right, is your role, Brian, is like culture development. So do you, in that sense of your job, do you work from a like hiring managers level, or like how involved are you in that culture process? I guess I should ask.
Yeah. Really more about, I'd say, setting strategy and
Sure.
then thinking about the tactics we need. So for me, it's really about understanding, it is getting down in the grassroots. So like, what are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the opportunities? And then how can we remove those barriers? So it is understanding each certain level of what it is. So for like hiring, talent acquisition, it's from the support center to the stores to how we hire salaried management. It's really the whole broad range, and how can we create the right experience? How can we ensure the things that we need to do need to be there? So it is involved in many different areas. I'm not tactically involved in the day-to-day piece, but more of thinking about a broader strategy and saying, if this is our culture, are we doing the right things? Are we creating the right experiences? Do we have barriers out there? Do we get feedback? Getting feedback is important. If we have hiring managers saying, this isn't working or this is a challenge, how can we fix that?
Gotcha. Cool. That makes a lot of sense. Because I was that was really just a basic question for me, because I wasn't sure, what exactly that role looked like. And that makes it different, right? Because, you're not necessarily working with a core group in the sense of you're a manager overseeing a staff. You're working a lot on a broader spectrum, which can be good and bad. So I'm jumped over Ben's question, but it fits here. So we're gonna move our schedule around a bit here. But I think an interesting question that we came up with was, in jobs, right, there are often things you don't enjoy doing, right? Like, even if you love your job, there's going to be something you probably don't want to do. How do you manage that? How do you work around things, or how do you even just get through that when there's something that you really don't enjoy about the job you're doing?
Yeah, I think doing them first. So, give you an example. One of the things I hate doing is I actually had a position open on my team, so I was hiring someone on my team, and at the end of the day, there was 5 great candidates, and I had to tell 4 of them no. I hate that. So what I did is put myself in their shoes and saying, how would they want to hear it? How would they want to hear the message? How would they want to know the feedback, open and honest? So really approach it that way. And what I do is I do it. Um, I don't procrastinate. I really want to do it right up front and get it done. So that way, it's not on me all day, and it's also thinking about them, getting that response back to them in a timely manner.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for me, it's really trying to tackle that stuff that's out there that it's unfortunate. I'd love to hire 5 people, but I can't. So really tackling that right away.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's something that we all struggle with, and I think Ben came up with that question because we started this company and he's doing public speaking, and he doesn't like the office work. He loves the speaking work, but the office work is not his favorite. And so anytime he gets advice about that, he's a fan.
That's a great advice, like you can't saying how do I say this? I lost my train of thought.
Well, I think what you do, right, is you do all the stuff you like the most first.
Yeah.
And then by 2 p.m., all the stuff you didn't want to do is piled up, right? And then you're like, oh, I think I'm done for the day. I think 2 p.m. It's a good time to wrap it up, right?
Oh, Dad.
Oh, that's good. And really, I look at it as that's my reward. So if I do the things I don't like to do, if I do them first, what I know is coming up afterwards, I'm excited about. So I'm trying to get those other things done and get it accomplished. So I'm not procrastinating it against those. And then I'm finishing off the day with what I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I really like to join coming to the headquarters one day. That was so much fun.
Yeah. That was a great time. We got to meet your parents.
Yeah. You got a question about that, right, Ben?
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh,
we can jump around.
Yeah,
it's
we can jump around. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
So I love the part when we went to the headquarters was the cafeteria and the self-checkouts. Who would imagine that Giant had self-checkouts in the headquarters? What's your favorite thing to eat there? I mean, Nick, one day when we were there, he said, I'm going to go get the soup. And so what's your favorite meal to eat in the headquarters cafe?
Well, not making it easy and not to be like Nick, but I actually love the soup. I love soup. So when for lunch, something that's quick, nice and hot, that won't fill me up too much during the day and just slow me down, I actually love the soup. That's my favorite thing.
Sometimes I do the soup there because I'm like, oh, I love it now.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. It's funny. Ben was adamant about asking that question. I was like, "Are you sure, Ben?" He's like, "Yeah, I gotta ask.
Yeah, I know. We really enjoyed the self-checkouts, which is really cool because it's a mini store. So we designed it like it's almost a really small convenience store that's ours that anyone can go in. It's open 24/7. You pick out anything you want, all self-service, and then you can just self-check out yourself. So yeah,
I love that. That's super cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize that anyone can go in. That's very, very cool. So we have a question actually from one of the viewers. So Susan Hartman wanted to know if you would ever do Undercover Boss.
I you know what, I watch that. It's really interesting to see that. So yeah, I think it would be interesting to do. I think the greatest thing so yes, I would do it to answer the question. And the greatest thing I like about that is really diving into understanding what is really happening. Because I think sometimes, especially what I'd say, the biggest thing, and I think Nick Bertram does a great job of this, as well as our entire leadership team, is really trying to understand what's going on. So we don't want smoke and mirrors, but what is actually happening and understanding it, because we want to fix it. And if there's problems, we want to help with those problems. And how do we solve those? So yeah, I think it's really cool. It's a cool show. I watch that from time to time.
Yeah, it's one of your favorite shows, right, Ben?
Yeah, I know the CEO, Joe Mammy, and Dan Dizio. So they were both on Undercover Boss.
Yeah, that's really kind of the start of Ben's passion for people in leadership roles and companies. I think the first episode was
A theme
for
park one.
Joel Manby for Hershin Family Entertainment.
Yeah,
And so they have a couple theme parks, and Ben has always loved roller coasters.
I did.
And so you wrote him a letter, right?
I did, and then he wrote me back in July.
Yeah, and
Wow,
so then
that's cool.
it started this like big snowball effect, and now Ben's he's got a whole wall of pictures, and I think that's how he ended up meeting Nick, right?
No, Dan Dizio.
Well,
No,
for Giant,
yeah,
right?
Giant. Okay, yeah. So I actually called the headquarters,
And
and I found the number on Google, and I said, "Can Nick Bertram come to our store?" And he was like, "Sure." So I talked to Tammy, and everybody was like, "Betty, what did you do?" It was the funniest thing.
Because from your perspective, right, it was this great, awesome thing that the head guy's coming down is going to go to the store. But I'm sure from a manager level, he's probably sweating. He's like, "Oh, what's he coming down for? Like, what's he gonna
go clean this up?"
Yeah.
Hey, maybe you can come down to our store tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, being a past store manager, it's not you respect and admire the president, but you don't always want them in your store.
Yeah, right.
But what I'd say that's years ago it was that way. I think with our leadership team today, it's a completely different approach, and when they go into a store, because it's more about really finding out what's going well and connecting and listening and helping remove barriers.
So Nick Bertram is on my wall. I need to get you on my wall.
Yeah, I got a picture of Brian up there, for sure. But yeah, so he's got this running wall of lead businessmen or executives that are signed. So instead of not actors, not musicians.
I had William Daniels up there from 1770.
That is true. That's true. His favorite movie, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an honor.
I have
wow.
The commissioner. Thank you. I have the commissioner of the NFL up on my wall.
Yeah, there you go. Got them all up there. So Ben, I know for Giant Company, you kind of helped get something in the store, right?
I did,
and I know you want to talk about that.
I did.
So talk about that.
Recently, Giant has been very grateful and thank you so much for doing this. Popcorn for the People. It's a nonprofit that helps people in employment with autism. Check it out if you ever haven't had a chance. They have good popcorn. They have a great mission, and they just got into our stores and a couple of Giants. What do you see? Do you see this bringing into the store's culture? What kind of process do you have to go through for getting this product into the stores?
Yeah, so like how does culture how does culture affect product placement and choosing and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think this is a great example where we continually look at products, and for us, it's those type of stories and vendors is what I'd say first starts with our purpose. So for us, our purpose, and we're purpose-led, is really connecting families for a better future. Mm-hmm. So when you think about that purpose and think about us as a venue of a food retailer, and you have someone like the Popcorn for the People, and the story is incredible. Ben sent me the video, I watched it. And then ironically, the day Ben came up, there were samples of Popcorn for the People up there, and I had one earlier before Ben got there, and it was incredible popcorn. So I think it's where it's a great product, a great story. It leads into us being, how do we bring that purpose to life? Mm. So I think that this is one of the ways that we can do those type of things. And that way it's really what I'd say is a win-win, where we can have a product for our customers that is a great product, but it also does a lot of great things on the back end. So anytime you buy that product, it's really helping out a great cause. So it's definitely a win all the way around. So yeah, the more of those type of things we can do, our merchandising team led by John Ruane and Rebecca and Dave Lassard, they do a great job of looking at that, and their entire team's bringing those type of products in.
Yeah.
You know what they should make, Dan?
What?
A Benergy one soda.
There you go.
Yeah, we got to figure out how we can bottle some of your energy first.
Yeah, I know. It's incredible. If I'd only have a little bit of Ben's energy, I could get so much more done. I'm like, does Ben sleep? So maybe I can ask Ben a question. Ben, do you actually sleep?
Sometimes I do, but sometimes I just get excited.
So what we say about Ben is, because we get this question a lot actually at schools. People will say, "Is he like this all the time?" And my answer to that is, if he's awake, Ben is Ben. but when he's asleep, he's out cold. Like there's no getting him up when he is asleep. And there are many different stories, but one that I tell people often is me and a good friend were camping, and we decided that instead of staying out, we ended up hiking back, and we were going to stay in the building. And as we got back to the house, we realized that Ben was asleep in the only bed that was there. And so we were like, oh, what are we going to do? So I said to my friend, I'm like, all right, look, you take one side, I'll take the other side. You know, we're not going to really sleep. We're just going to be, you know, all tight, whatever. And he's like, all right, fine. So we sneak in, we get in bed, and Ben, like, shoots up, and he, like, looks over at me and looks at my friend. And I just go, Ben, this is just a dream. Go back to sleep. And he goes, okay. And just flops back down like a brick right back onto the
bed. That's a great story.
Yeah, and so when he's awake, he's 100%, but when he's asleep, he is asleep.
It's a great idea. I love that Benergy drink.
Yeah, we'll have to
mix it. Actually, we can mix it with Diet Cola with lemonade.
Let's say what would the flavor be, Ben?
Diet Cola and lemonade.
Okay, because why the lemonade?
Because I love mixture.
You love the
mix.
The lemons, right?
Yeah, and maybe we could we can put a little root beer in there.
Yeah, well, tell Brian, what did you do for your 1 cup of water today that you had at dinner? What did you do when we made dinner today?
I put 1 cup.
So he had a cup of water, and he cut up a whole lemon. And did you use the whole lemon in the water?
Yes.
Yeah, so he used 1 whole lemon in his water. That's how much Ben likes lemon in his water.
Wow, I didn't know Ben likes lemon that much. That's a lot of lemon.
Uh-huh.
Well, the ants taught me that. The ants.
Yeah.
Every time they go to a restaurant, they say water with lemon. I'm like, oh, I guess I'll do this from now
on. So Ben, I think you got a question, right, about the Giant Company. So I'll let Ben ask the question, but I'll preface it with this. This is the imaginary world in which you have full control, right? So no one would stop you.
If you had to change one thing about the Giant Company, what would you change? What would you change that to be?
That is a great question. If I could change one thing, what would I change? Wow. Boy, you really stumped me on that one. I would think if I could change anything, what I'd say is for us is how we could maybe have a larger market area. So we're part of the Ahold Delhaize network. So there's a bunch of other brands. There's brands in New England. There's brands in Baltimore, Washington. So we're what I'd say we operate in a confined space, obviously. So what I'd say is I would love to see us expand more. So if I could change one thing about the Giant Company, what I'd say is more expansion and expanding. Maybe we could move a little bit more west. Maybe we can get into Pittsburgh, Ohio, and start moving in that direction, in addition to being focused on the East Coast.
Yeah, I know Ben's excited about that, right, Ben?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm really excited because I'm hoping you guys expand. Like, I just want to tell you a quick story. So me and Richie Smith talked one day about doing sensory lighting for the stores, you know, like dimming down the lights. And I think some stores in Virginia are starting to do that. So
They are, yeah.
Yeah, I know when we were coming up with questions, one thing Ben struggles with is he likes to ask yes or no questions, which in interviews isn't always the best, right? Because if the answer is yes or no, that's kind of the end of the conversation. And so one of the questions Ben had was, do you think Giant wants to expand to more locations? And I was like, Ben, I think we can both say that yes is the answer to that question. So I'm sure it's exciting for him as it is for me to hear that's something that you're passionate about as well, because it really is. Ben would like to see that. He really likes Giant as a company and an organization.
I really think we can build a better future and connect with better families if we can get more customers coming in every day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it is. I think it's can really drive what we do. And I agree with you, Ben. I think we're the best omni-channel retailer out there. So So yeah, I would love to expand that more and give it to more customers and offer more jobs, and those type of things would be great.
Yeah. So I'll play devil's advocate for a second. If if you do expand into a larger area, how do you think that would affect culture for the Giant company as a whole?
Wow.
Yeah, I think it would stay there. I think because to me is what we have from a culture standpoint, that is a combination of everything we do. It's how we hire, who we hire, which is important. Individuals like Ben, it looks at the values that we hold ourselves accountable to. So I think culture is a culmination of everything. What we offer our customers, what we offer our team members, our values, our daily behavior. So I think it's because of who we are that would continue. Not that it doesn't make it, definitely even the size of the company we are today, it's still a very hard thing to do. You always have to be looking and saying, are we doing the right thing? Are we leading from a purpose perspective? Um, do we have the right behaviors all the time? And sometimes, if any of that or someone has a lapse on that, helping that individual out and help coaching them. So it definitely becomes a challenge because you're just larger, but I think it can still be there because of who you are. And I think for us in 2020, when we rolled out this new strategy that we looked at, for us, is really about doing it. How do we do it? So a lot of companies want results, and that you need results to keep the business going and shareholders happy, etc. But it's how do you get the results, and that's been our focus. How do we get the results? How do we get the results by focusing on our customers and our team members? Because both are equally important. You can't have one without the other. So I think it's really that focus and doing it the right way that it would be sustainable. Because that's really the whole intent of what we're trying to do is how can you sustain any type of good performance? It's through your culture and that how. So I think it would be. Doesn't mean that it's easy, but I think
Yeah.
it really is possible.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I love that for sure. So Ben said that do you visit locations? Is that a part of your job, or is that something that Ben has just seen because Ben gets to meet all these executives all the time?
Yeah, I do. I do from time to time get out to the stores. Sometimes it's not as much, and obviously, being, trying to visit the stores where I'm looking at for them to try to help me and understand different items, whether it's hiring and how we can do better and those type of things. So I enjoy it. Quite honestly, it's something I need to do more of. And that'll probably be one of my challenges for myself as I move forward into this year is yeah, I do it, but I need to do more of it. And I think quite honestly, we all do because the stores are the most important part of our company. That's where everything is. That's where all our team members are located. So that's where we should be.
Yeah, and even like you said earlier, having that experience, not only starting as assistant manager at Giant Food Stores, but also having food retail being your experience beforehand, you understand the importance of all those levels going through them, and that's why I kind of brought that up earlier. But
Yeah.
the idea there is, when you're an executive and maybe you move from something that's not food-based retail into Giant Food Stores, it may be harder for them to understand each facet of what that culture and work looks like. Whereas for you, since you've seen and been a part of it all, you have a much better grasp of that, which I think is important for sure.
Yeah, and that's something we do. I mean, for us, as we look at talent, and it's great because for myself, I came up through food retail. I've been with Giant for 21 years. So yeah, you have that career growth, which is what we want. That's my aspirations for everybody. But there are talented individuals from other organizations that come in too, which and what we do is our onboarding program is actually having them go out and work in the stores to understand that. We want everyone to understand what is the most critical element of our business, which is our stores.
Yeah, for sure.
I was going to say, you can go first. So I can go. No, I was going to say that April is Autism Awareness Month, and last year the Giant Company actually got to wear ribbons and did blue, and I think that was really cool that you guys did that. It all started in our store level, and then we started now doing it at the corporate level. This year, I'd love to do it more of all the whole company and maybe other companies as well with the giant Martins.
Absolutely. And I think Aisha Noor, who's our head of D&I, is an incredible individual and has done so much for our organization. She is overseeing that. I know she's on vacation right now, so might be speaking with her, but I know one of the things that I'm going to be talking about, because we talked about it, Ben, is getting together the three of us and saying, how can we do that more? Which you did an incredible job of driving that, not only within your region and the stores and the support center, but you also, I know you, I think you text or tweeted Governor Wolf and made him wear blue that day too, which is incredible. It's so inspirational.
My dream is to get the president and the commissioner of the NFL to wear blue next year.
That's the goal for this year. It's always the next thing, you know. It's always the next step
hoping
up.
to get the governor again too. Tom.
Well, I think they both have Pennsylvania connections. I think the commissioner went to college in PA, and obviously Biden's from Scranton, so I think you have some PA connections you can connect with.
Yeah,
there you go.
So I'll make some.
Do you know about the commissioner?
I did. I looked it up online.
Oh, okay. Yeah, of course he does.
He's from Jamestown, New York. Roger Goodell.
There you go.
He's a great guy.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So if you are working right at this corporate level and you have we'll say a 16-year-old or 18-year-old that comes in right to Giant and they're hired in, what's something that you would give them advice-wise coming into the job that you think is like really important for the job?
For the job is just most important at that level for the job is just being true to who you are. And what I mean by that, and not to sound too cliche or anything like that, but we have this team promise called Be You. And every individual brings their own unique abilities and skills and enthusiasm to our company. So for me, it would be you. Be who you are. Don't try to, obviously there's guidelines on how our values and how we interact and those type of things, which are standards. But at the end of the day, don't try to be somebody else or don't try to, look or act like somebody else. Be who you are. Because that authentic self is what really drives creativity and innovation.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I've heard a fun saying that is, be yourself, everyone else is taken.
That's good.
Yeah, and so I appreciate that for sure. And that's something that I think resonates strongly with Ben, your view for autism, right?
Yeah, I'm not afraid to tell anybody. I'm not afraid to meet people. I'm not afraid to say, what do you do for work? And I love saying thank you for your service. Even if it's the mailman, the trash man, or somebody in the grocery store. I go, hey, thank you for what you do.
Yeah, because each person truly is unique and
special.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's Ben's favorite. It's your quote for autism, right?
Yep, at the end.
Yeah,
that's
I love it. I think you've got a question here, but we also have one from the guests, from our viewers. So we have a question. What is one of your favorite things to do in your downtime?
Ooh.
Oh, that's a good question. What I'd say, besides spending time with my family, like any time I can get with my family is great. So that is always number one. So family time. But outside of that, believe it or something I just started doing in November is I started working out. So in my downtime, I get very excited and enthused now. Not as much energy as Ben, but I get up every morning. 4 days a week, I go to the gym. The other 2 days, I will go on the treadmill. But I enjoy working out because it gives me a nice stress release. And plus, I need to be healthier. I'm getting older. I need to lose some weight. So I actually enjoy it. It really has helped me mentally handle stress or anything like that. So it makes me feel a lot better.
I love that.
I was going to say, when we went to the corporate office, they actually had a fitness center in there.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
Yeah, we do.
That's perfect.
And they have a game room, Dan.
Whoa.
Yeah, we'll have to take you sometime. We'll have to play some Nintendo Switch in there.
Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely.
Game room. I love it.
We'll play some Mario Party one night.
Yeah. So Ben, what do you enjoy working out in your free time?
I don't, but I have to do it as a citizen and as a man, so I have to do it.
So Ben is in this point where we have a discussion pretty consistently, which is you either need to eat less or exercise more. And the eat less, I don't think will ever happen. So the exercise more is where we're at now. And so Ben definitely enjoys being physical. But I think there's something about the repetition that I think Ben has a hard time with, which you feel like isn't the issue, but sometimes it's a battle to get Ben to complete his exercises.
I think I can do it.
That's great.
Yeah,
I did not want to do it, and now I got motivated, and I just seeing the benefits of it has really kept me going with it. But Ben, I'm like you, I don't like doing the same thing all the time, so it definitely has to change up from what I'm doing. But yeah, definitely enjoy it in my free time, because it helps me at work, it helps me with my family, so it's really cool.
Yeah,
stay motivated, and you'd be like, okay, I got this.
Yeah. So Ben, I think you have one question here, and then I've got one last one after that.
And what is one piece of advice that you think is really helpful to someone who is feeling like they don't know how to use their talents or gifts?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. And I actually did this with my son. I talked to many people about this, is find your purpose. So for me, although I worked for the company for 21 years, I would say up until about 4 years ago, did I actually find out what is my purpose? And what I mean by that, it is what are my interests and understanding what I enjoy the most and why I enjoy it, and then putting it into place, finding a job or a role that really brings that together. And for me, what I'd say my purpose is I'm insatiable curiosity, where I am always trying to learn, and I'm curious about everything. So it's funny, Ben, you know so much. I will look up all this. My wife says, you know more weird facts than anybody I know, because I'm just curious about stuff. But so this role of learning and development, how to make things better and do those type of things, is really where it came together for me. And it took me a while to find that. So for anyone, what I say is really understand what makes you tick, what you really enjoy, and then find something that brings that together. Because then, like I said at the beginning of the call, our meeting, is that it's not a job for me. I enjoy it. I just love it.
Yeah,
I love working, and I love doing everything.
Yeah, and I think you even see that same thing like I was saying earlier with Ben, right? Like the public speaking you love, right, Ben?
And I love working at Giant. I love working at the Eagles.
Yeah, right.
And
all those things, the passion behind that is what makes that job really doable. And I say this often, but like the public speaking thing, I can do this, right? I'm talking to you alone. We could have 1 million people watching, and I wouldn't feel that because I feel like I'm only talking to you. Yeah. But Ben up on stage, if it's more than 10 people, I'm sweating bullets. So he's up there, he's cracking jokes, having the best time of his life, and so that is that big difference.
I need to come to your daughter's online school sometime.
There you go, maybe.
Yep.
I love it. So, Brian, we always end the show, and the goal of the show, right, is we call it Razed Typical, because it's R-A-Z-E-D, because the idea is that Ben often destroys our concept of typical and kind of builds his own typical that we all function around and enjoy. And most people that I've seen that have reached levels and places where they enjoy what they do, they've also kind of had to raise typical in their own lives. So we just kind of open up the floor at the end to give you a chance to kind of speak if there's anything on your mind, or if there's something that you feel like you wanted to talk about but didn't get the chance to. We just like to leave that space open for you.
No, great. No, I think I got through a lot of the questions, or especially that last question about purpose. But considering what you talked about, raised typical, I really like that and that explanation of it. And for me, as I would say, is just always challenging what you think is typical and what you want to do. For me, is I was the first I have two sisters, and myself, and out of my entire family, my parents and my sisters, I was the only one that graduated high school, which really propelled me to think about education
Yeah.
and then go to college and those type of things. So typical in our family would not be being going to college or maybe working on in a support center or working on strategy. That would not typically have been my family. I learned a lot of great things from them, like hard work and dedication and showing up every day, and you have to never give up and continue work. So I had those great skills or that great values instilled in me from my family, my parents. Education was not one of them. So for me to venture out, and what I'd say typical is throw my family completely out of sorts. They had no idea, why I was doing these type of things and why I wanted to learn and do this stuff. So in my family, I was the oddball,
Love it.
because of what I wanted to do and what I had aspirations to do, and just that curiosity of learning, which really says who I am. So it really, that's what made me different. But so what I'd say is just, like I said earlier, just stretching your wings, go out there and being uncomfortable, but knowing what you want to do, what you have aspirations to do, and continue to go after it and never stop.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I think it's so important to speak on and be honest with that breaking the mold kind of concept.
Yeah.
I think some people can kind of be. It's not even that they're consciously worried about it. It's just so ingrained that we kind of follow the path that's laid before us. And I know I talk about this with our family pretty often, but my dad's dad was the first one in our family to like not be a coal miner. And so we had a pretty long lineage of coal miners up in Jim Thorpe, PA. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And so he became a car mechanic, and that brought him to Philadelphia. And like, had he not made that choice, I have no clue, where our family would have been or what not. And so really it does take that one person to kind of to break that mold and say, I don't know if I want to do whatever else continue to do. I want to make a different choice. So I love that. I appreciate that. That's amazing.
I did not know about that about Pop Pop.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad, for working on computers.
Yeah. Yep. That's very true. Very true. Well, Brian, we want to thank you so much for your time and being on the show. We really appreciate it, and I think we had a great conversation.
Absolutely. I had the best show tonight.
Yeah.
I think it was
I
really
love
well
this
done.
show.
Thank you. I really love this show too. Our new studios today, and you're just amazing, and I was just very happy.
Yeah, I was as well.
Thanks for having me. I feel honored, so appreciate it very much, and enjoyed talking to both of you.
Thank you so much. And so we'll tell people that are listening, we'll stick around for a bit because we're going to give you some updates on the show. But we want to thank Brian again one more time. And I'm sure, Brian, I'll hear from you soon. And Ben's got to get me up to that game room in that the cafeteria. So
absolutely. Come up to visit us.
I love it.
We'll find a day. We'll find a day.
We'll make it work for sure.
Meet Nick Bertram and everybody.
It'll be great. All right, Brian. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. Alrighty, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. This was episode 1 of season 2.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So, as we said kind of in the beginning, we have our new set, right, that we're still working on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to kind of change and take place over time. We also have a wonderful helper in the chair who is behind the scenes. He is changing cameras for us and swapping stuff around. So that takes the stress off of me, which I really appreciate. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, you're not seeing any of this, but that's totally okay. We appreciate anyone who's listening to or watching the show. So keep tuning in when you can. If it's not live, watch the show later. We really appreciate that. Ben spent some time this week putting together some social media accounts for Razed Typical, and so he'll link all those on his Facebook.
Yeah. I can tag you on them on the podcast and whatever.
Yeah,
but
so
yeah,
that
I just created a Twitter and an Instagram page. Check them out at Razed Typical.
Yeah,
all lowercase, and then Razed Typical Twitter, all lowercase.
Yeah,
so I'll tag them and I will make sure everybody. And then also, Fly, Eagles, fly this Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure I hope they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And speaking of Eagles Autism, just real quick announcement. If anybody's interested in donating to my fundraising page, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. is a match. So make sure you donate to my fundraising page, because if you donate at 9 a.m. tomorrow, my money's going to be doubled, and it's going to help. It's going to help them. It's going to help the autism take awareness to action, and it's going to help people with finding cure or helping with research and more funds for the autism. And 100% of the money that's donated goes directly to research of autism. So shout out to Jeff Rory and the Eagles Autism Foundation. They do such a great job.
Yeah, they really do. You can find a link to Ben's page through our website. It's always down in the footer of the website. But it's something that we wanted to shout out because we, both as a company and as a show, really appreciate the Eagles Autism Challenge and Foundation, and we support them for sure in all that they do. So once again, thank you everybody for watching the show and listening. If you're not watching, you're listening. We appreciate that as well. And we'll end it off with Ben's quote.
And then I have a surprise.
Okay.
Having autism is not a bad thing. It doesn't characterize who we are. Everybody is unique and special, just like a rainbow. And I'm gonna do an Eagles chant. E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles! Go Birds on Sunday. I hope we beat Tom Brady.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.